Season 2 of The First Descendant is on the way. There's a new trailer showing off a whole bunch of new content, including new characters, a new ultimate descendant, new weapons, more story quests, and most importantly of all, a very good boy named Fellow. You know where the like button is. We're on our way to 200,000 subscribers, so consider joining the battalion, and let's check out what's coming up in Season 2. I have so much appreciation for the level of transparency that these devs are offering. They just dropped this almost hour-long deep dive into all the new content on the official First Descendant YouTube channel, where they go in-depth and break down pretty much everything that's coming up in Season 2. There's a lot to cover, but let's start with the main focus of this update. Just like how the previous one revolved around Freyna, this one is highly focused on Sharen. We're getting her as our newest ultimate character, alongside her new story quest that will flesh out her character even more. We got a bit of her in the Freyna storyline, and that's going to continue in this new season. It's perfect timing to go with the planned changes that are coming to the outposts and infiltration operations, where Sharen is a pretty essential character for sneaking into the outposts so that you can farm particular amorphous materials. The change will make it so that you don't need to sneak in with her anymore. You can just get that amorphous from the infiltration operations now. But the option to sneak in is still there, so grinding for Ultimate Sharen will absolutely be worth it. Other than Sharen, we're also getting 2 additional new descendants that are going to be spaced apart by about a month. The first one we're getting will drop with Season 2. This is Keelan, a new toxic-oriented character to go along with Freyna. His abilities are based on fast movement. His signature move, Onslaught, will pierce through targets and inflict poison damage on them as he runs through, and it's really good for just getting around the map quickly. Bunny will still probably be faster, but combining Onslaught with the grapple will cover a lot of ground. The other new descendant is Ines, an electric-based character that has AoE attacks. To be honest, she kind of sounds like Bunny 2.0, and I'm really looking forward to see what she can do. The devs didn't go too in-depth into what her abilities are and what she's capable of, and she's going to be dropping in the later half of Season 2, specifically Week 7, so that the devs have a little bit more time to sort her out. She will be appearing as an NPC in the story though, so we'll get some time to get familiar with her. So this next item is probably my favorite part of Season 2. We get pets now. This German Shepherd shows up in the trailer, and I'm not sure if his name is Fellow, like I mentioned in the intro, or if Fellow is just what they're calling these companion characters, but it sounds like these dogs and other companions that we're getting will be very useful in combat. They're going to follow our descendant around and go fetch items that are really far out of reach, which will help with the item farm a lot. More importantly, the fellows also let you auto-dismantle items in your inventory during missions so that you can pick up even more. It doesn't seem like they're going to go out and attack enemies, they're more there for moral support. And we'll get to interact with them in unique ways. They can shake, high-five, roll over, they can even jump up and play those conga drums, which is really cool. As a dog owner myself, I really appreciate this. They're coming out with a pretty high level of customization that's divided into 4 categories: fur, body skin, torso attachments, and head attachments, so we can really deck the dog out, make him look cool. And they're coming out with a couple of different themes for cosmetics too, like this Rudolph-inspired Christmas theme. The devs also mentioned they're going to be working on more interactions in the future. The big focus for them right now, though, is making sure that the basic function of the pets are working, especially the movement. This is a fantastic addition. I didn't see it coming, but I'm glad they're including it. This update is also delivering 2 new ultimate weapons. The first one is a new ultimate beam rifle called Voltia or Volsha. I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly, but it's based on the bunny beam. And it has this chain lightning effect where when you hit one enemy, the lightning will bounce to another and inflict damage. And just like how we got 3 copies of the XCav in the Season 1 Battle Pass, we'll also get 3 copies of this Voltia gun in the Season 2 Battle Pass. It's the only weapon in the game right now that can damage anti-void shields, so it's worth picking up. The second ultimate weapon is a new ultimate shotgun called Hammer and Anvil. This is going to be a really heavy hitter at close range and when you're hip firing, and it comes with 2 different modes of fire, hence the name Hammer and Anvil. When you're hip firing, that's hammer mode, and it sends out standard shotgun shells that hit enemies in a wide area. But when you're aiming down the sights, it shoots out just a single slug at a time that has an explosive effect at the end, and this should make it a pretty versatile weapon in most situations. Ultimate weapons in general are getting a bit of a rework, where normally you would have to combine at least one ultimate with another to unlock that unique effect. Starting with this update, you should automatically have that unique effect on all the ultimate weapons at the lowest level, and that should incentivize players to pick up the ultimates a bit more. This new season is doing the cosmetics a great service also. We're getting a bunch of new skins. Valby has a new evolution skin that she's getting. There's going to be new holiday and Christmas themed skins. But most importantly, we're finally getting the option to customize the default looks on all the characters. The community has been begging for this one. It was a little annoying only being able to paint the purchased skins or the skins that we upgrade to, and the default ones just remain their standard look, but now we'll be able to equip paints and give those default skins a unique look. Character balancing is something the devs are really looking at. In this update, they mentioned Freyna and how overwhelmingly powerful she is with the contagion skill. They said it's actually making balancing the new content much harder, saying that if they make new content to cater to other descendants, then Freyna will just make it way too easy. But if they create the content with Freyna's power in mind, then it might be too much for the other descendants who aren't nearly as powerful. So there's a bit of a balancing act happening behind the scenes. They flat out said, though, that they're not planning on simply nerfing Freyna, and the devs say they're more concerned with rebalancing other characters and the content around her instead. Once that rebalancing happens, then they might go back and see if the overpowered characters need a change. So this is great news for Freyna mains like myself. She is going to stay the overpowered beauty that she is, at least for the time being. Drop rates and the item farm are conversations that are always happening on the development team. There's two new systems that are coming to the game that I think will greatly help with farming. The drop rates have been a talking point in the community, with players having different experiences where sometimes you'll get exactly what you need after just a single try, other times you'll get nothing after 10 to 20 tries. The new focus strategy system aims to help with this. It lets you focus on a specific item that you're trying to farm by tracking the specific missions that drop it. As you complete the missions, you're going to fill up this gauge, and once the gauge reaches 100%, you're guaranteed to get that item that you're tracking, even if it never drops by chance. Honestly, a really great idea because sometimes the RNG just isn't on our side, and this way it won't feel like a waste of time having to run a mission over and over and over again because we actually have a clear end goal in sight. Ideally, it shouldn't get to that point, but like I said, sometimes the RNG is just not with us. The other new system that's going to help with drop rates is a new item called a high shape stabilizer. This is just a better version of the shape stabilizers that are already in the game, except instead of simply boosting the rates of the low chance item drops, the high shape stabilizer actually inverts the drop rates from amorphous materials. So for example, if you've got a 6% drop item and a 30% drop item in a particular amorphous, by activating the high shape stabilizer, those odds will be flipped, where 6 becomes 30 and 30 becomes 6. This will make it so much easier to get those low odd item drops from your amorphous, and it sounds really powerful on paper, so these are going to be pretty rare. They're starting at limited quantities through only events and ETA, and once the devs get the internal data, they may or may not provide more in the future. Endgame content is also a big talking point in the community right now, with players feeling like there isn't nearly enough of it. Season 2 is going to bring a twist to the Colossi battles with the new Void Abyss. It's being positioned as the hardest endgame content right now, and it changes the way the intercept battles work. It features Colossi mutations that will give them a new ability. Instead of a frenzy mode, they now go into void reflux mode, which will change their attack patterns and actually lets them regenerate the destroyed parts. We can knock them out of it just like frenzy mode by inflicting damage and by removing those destructible parts, but this should make the intercept battles a lot more challenging. On top of that, there's a new mode called Void Erosion Purge, and the devs say this will truly be the hardest challenge yet. It's going to be a series of 30 stages of increasing difficulty, fighting waves of Vulgus and named bosses. And the goal for the development team is for a team of 4 players that have completely maxed out specs to need perfect teamwork and coordination to complete the final stage. So they're really trying to make this a challenge. It's not going to be something that Ultimate Freyna can just contagion her way through like she normally can. Season 2 will be bringing other changes to the game, like an update to the way reactors work and how you upgrade those. Like I mentioned before, we're going to be getting those character rebalances as well. And probably the most important update that I haven't mentioned yet I'm sure all you degenerates were waiting for me to bring it up. The First Descendant is going to be bringing us an update to the Jiggle physics, and this is something that's been highly requested by the community. On the Discord Q&A, one of the developers came out and said, after a lengthy discussion with the A&D today, a decision has been made to add the much-requested Jiggle physics. This was decided only a short while ago, so the details of when and how it will be implemented in the game are yet to be finalized and will be shared in future updates. I hope this will be a pleasant surprise for our dear successors who've been waiting for it. Oh, I'm sure it will. The gooning was already in full effect, but it's going to be even worse now, or maybe better, depending on your point of view. Plenty of other quality of life improvements are also on the way, like changes to random matchmaking to help us get into matches earlier. They're updating the recommended module setting, which they've said surprisingly many players don't actually use. So this should hopefully help some of the beginners who aren't too familiar with the modules and what exactly the best setup is. There really is a lot of content coming with this latest season. They also provided us a roadmap to give us some visual indications of what to expect, and that's going to show us the division of all the content. Most of this stuff is going to be dropping on December 5th with the update, but all the other stuff is going to be dropping in January and February, including Ines, the newer descendant. Both Keelan and Ultimate Sharen are dropping on December 5th with the update, though, so we'll have at least 2 new characters to play with when it arrives. If you guys want a fully comprehensive list of everything that's dropping with Season 2, I'll have a link to the developer update video in the description below, so if you want to see everything and hear what the devs have to say about it themselves, make sure you check that out. The First Descendant is really the only multiplayer game that's been holding my attention recently. I've switched over to mainly single-player games, but it's the new content and all the updates the developers are providing us that make me keep coming back, and this game is truly a gem. If you guys like my coverage of the Season 2 update, I would really appreciate a thumbs up on the video, and once again, consider subscribing to the channel for more. We're moving on up. Our next goal is 200,000 subscribers, and 1 million more well on the way. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. This has been Star. Keep shining, baby.